Hello, everyone. My name is Charles Givery, and I'm a lead data scientist at Deutsche Bank. I've worked there for not that long now, for about maybe 4 or 5 months, and I work in the CISO, which is the basically Information Security Office for the bank. I'm based out of the Washington, D.C. area. Prior to that, I worked at Booz Allen Hamilton as a data scientist, data analyst for about 7 years. And prior to that, I was a counterterrorism analyst at the Central Intelligence Agency. I have a very diverse background, which I think is kind of common in a lot of people in this field. But I've been kind of always involved in technology and coding and scripting. And so I've been doing this kind of work now. Really, the data science stuff I've been doing now for probably about 7 or 8 years. But I also do a lot of teaching personally, which is something I really enjoy. And I part of that is I really enjoy trying to find new ways of bringing data science to areas that haven't perhaps used it before, hence my interest in security. Not to say that security has not seen data science before, but it's the growth of it. It's still very much a growth industry.
Great. Thank you so much. It's great to have you on Humans of Data Science. So the first question I have for you is if you can just talk more about the work that you're doing as the lead data scientist at Deutsche Bank and how you transitioned into banking, really.
Sure. So I'm not the lead data scientist. It's my rather inflated job title. But I got into, I'm working in the security office. So really it's kind of a natural extension of what I was doing at Booz Allen. It's just for a different industry. Where at Booz Allen, I was working primarily on government contracts. Again, doing data science and security. I also worked as part of a research group where I was personally doing some research involving the intersection between data science and security. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty. And if you're interested, I can get into that. But basically, I'm trying to find ways to improve analyst efficiency and get them to be able to use the more advanced analytic techniques faster, which is really important in security because we're getting, as you might imagine, there is just tons and tons of data, and being able to identify breaches and other non-desirable activity quickly is very important.
Right. I can imagine in security that would be the most important to be more efficient.
Yep.
Okay. Very interesting. So it seems that you really enjoy teaching data science as well. I noticed you teach at O'Reilly and Metis. Is there anything specific that you think is currently missing from the programs or curriculum?
It's hard to say. It's hard to generalize, but what I've seen from a lot of curricula is, at least initially, let me back up a step. When I was at Booz Allen, you were really trying to hire data scientists and really struggling. And so there was, at the time, the prevailing approach kind of tended to be, let's find these people who are like all-knowing experts in everything. And those kind of people, while they may exist, don't exist in the kind of numbers that we wanted. So I was a big advocate of taking our existing workforce of people who already work in particular domains and then teaching them data science skills so that they can, and whether or not they call themselves data scientists is frankly irrelevant, but they have the skills that we would consider to be data science skills. Mm-hmm. So it's machine learning, data ingestion, visualization, all those kinds of things. So that's my general approach. I felt at the time I did a lot of research into what programs were out there and what people were teaching in data science. And what I found was that most of the curricula were very focused on machine learning and mathematics, which fine, I understand why, but for the audience that I was seeking to train, it didn't necessarily speak to them. So like you take somebody who's working in an operations center, a security operations center, a SOC, they would be like extremely knowledgeable about networks, about all aspects of security, and then you start throwing linear algebra at them, and they're not going to. It's not that that's beyond their comprehension, but they're not going to necessarily see the connection of why they're learning it and how it's directly relevant to what they're doing. Mm-hmm. So what I do see is missing in a lot of data science curricula, and this is something that I'm trying to fix, is curricula that are focused towards particular industries, so that maybe instead of taking the approach of teaching them every algorithm known to man, focus on the things that are directly relevant, use cases from industry, and so that way you can kind of get them started much quicker. And I'm not saying you shouldn't teach all these things, but I think kind of there should be some sort of priority to it,
Okay, so like
if
an
that makes sense.
industry targeted approach, more relevant to whatever they're working in currently, right? Cool.
Right. And I mean, towards that end, I teach some data science for security courses,
Mhm.
and in that end, like most of the security problems that if you're talking about machine learning could be, are basically classification problems and anomaly detection. Kind of those are the two big families of problems that if you're doing security and data science, you're going to find in that realm. So my courses all focus on that because those are going to be the most directly relevant. Uh,
Mhm.
and again, also most of the people I work with are working professionals, so time is limited.
Yes, yes. Okay, yep, that makes sense. So, switching a topic slightly, last year I noticed you posted an article on LinkedIn. It was called A Proposal for a Code of Data Science Ethics.
Hmm.
Just have you seen any progress so far in that direction of, you know, improving ethics in data science?
Um, I haven't seen much. There was like I don't love the word manifesto, but there was something like that that went around, which I did sign, which was kind of similar in general. Really, I was hoping and to my general hope is to kind of make more people aware of the fundamental issues of both mass data collection and the somewhat negative effects that can have on society in general as a result of this. I mean, in general, I do think that most of data analytics it's used for good things, but at the same time, there are costs to it. I mean, we read all the time about these massive data breaches where people's personal information are leaked out, or all sorts of things like that. And I think that anyone who's using data in any capacity really needs to put some thought into what are we going to do this? What are the ethics involved? Do we have permission to use this data? I mean, obviously, I work in a bank now, and the banking data is extremely highly regulated, and so that you really can't do, even for internal purposes. There's a lot of regulatory control over it. So, I mean, with good reason. It's not, but I think there have been a lot of companies out there that really have not shown the same respect for people's privacy, for people's, for basically people's rights in that sense, and so. My hope is that more and more data scientists will start thinking about these issues, and more companies will start taking this on as something that they're going to do. But ultimately, I think where it really is going to have to come from is the more general public, and the more general public more people in the general public are going to have to say, no, I don't want my data used this way. I don't want my privacy abused in this manner, and I'm not going to put up with it anymore. That's, I think, what really will drive the change. But
Right. I guess it has to come from both sides, the companies and the public in general.
yeah,
Have
yeah.
to, right.
And I mean, there was an article that came out, it was on Ars Technica last week, about how someone discovered that Facebook was collecting everyone's text message and phone metadata from anyone who had an Android device that had the Facebook app installed on it. And I mean, I'll send you the article. It had the technical information in it. And I posted another blog post about something I found, which I called stalkerware, but it's essentially these apps that send your geolocation back every so often. It's really scary what companies have been able to do with this. And I'm sure they're not thinking about, well, this larger societal implications of this. They're just thinking about, we have quarterly investment reports that we have to show progress every quarter. So this is something we have to do. But it's really, there really, I think, needs to be a conversation in broader public about how data is used and how data science is used, and to prevent really bad things. Again, having worked in two regulated industries, it's something I think about a lot. And in the government, some of the practices that happen in private industry would never be allowed. I mean, people would go to jail for this sort of thing. So, like, it's really it's of great concern to me, and something I definitely hope to have to work to spread awareness of.
Right. Yeah, that's an area where I'm truly hoping to see progress in, hopefully even this year.
Yes. Yeah. And sadly, I think it does kind of take more of these like breaches or scandals to make the general public aware. I've been really hoping that someone like a film producer would make a documentary, kind of showing how data is used and explaining it to people. Kind of.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And also I think another thing that people just in general don't understand is that free services aren't free. I mean, the price you pay is the data that you give over to them.
Yeah, as the quote goes, if you're not paying for it, you're the product. Or
For the product.
Yep. Yeah. Great. So Charles, the last question I have for you today, it's a little bit different. It's about you and what you would hope your superhuman power would be, if you could choose a superhuman power to be.
I think if I had a superhuman power, I wish I could kind of accelerate my brain waves or something, so that I could like process like 8 times the amount of stuff that I need to, or something like that. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I think that.
Okay, so increasing your processing power of your brain.
Something like that.
Okay, great. All right, well, thank you so much, Charles, for being on Humans of Data Science. It was great getting to know you.
Thank you very much.